Hello and thanks for joining me. I've got my brand new Glock 19, and the first thing I did to make it a better shooting gun was to add the magazine well. And the second and most important thing I'll do to make this a better shooting and more accurate and more consistent handling gun is I'm going to change the factory plastic guide rod and replace it with a stainless steel guide rod. You can see it comes right here like this. Now, we sell the guide rods with a captured spring. It's already captured. All you have to do is drop it right in. We also sell them as a simple stainless steel guide rod themselves, which you can add your own spring. Obviously, it's a lot easier with the captured spring because you just drop it right in. But I do want to show you a couple things. The spring is captured with this Allen screw. And if you look at the spring, it's a flat wire spring. I'm going to go ahead and compress it now so you can kind of see what's going on here. I'm going to break this guy down, and there is the Allen screw at the very top, which actually captures the spring. Okay, now this is dry, and the Glock is basically a dry gun compared to most other guns. However, we think a little bit of oil will help this function a little better over a course of time. So I'm going to first and foremost, go ahead and take out the plastic guide rod. Of course, whenever you're handling a firearm, you want to make sure it's unloaded. So I'm going to look inside of the chamber and pull the slide back and look inside the chamber, make sure the gun is in fact unloaded, make sure there's no rounds in there, there's no magazine in there, there's no live ammo on the desk here whatsoever, on the tabletop. And now I'm going to pull the trigger in a safe direction. At that point, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble the gun. Grab on the top, just like so. Squeeze back just a little bit just to disengage that there, and then pull down on the slide lock lever on both sides, and then let the slide go forward and pull the slide off the top. That's it. Put the frame on the side. Looking on the underside of the slide itself, there's the factory plastic guide rod. So I'll just go ahead and pull it out and put the slide down. Now you'll see a couple things. Factory plastic, stainless steel. Identical in size and shape, which is important. But notably, the plastic is about 1/3 the weight of the stainless steel. Or should I say the stainless steel is about 3 times as heavy. And I've got my scale right here to determine that, show you that for sure. So I've zeroed it out somewhat, and I'm going to put the plastic guide rod on the scale. And it's going to weigh 8.97 grams. Take it off, so just under 9. Pop the stainless steel on there. That's going to weigh in at 25.18. So basically 3 times as heavy the stainless steel is than the plastic. One other thing to really think about too and to observe is that the stainless steel, you can look up here, is rigid where the plastic is not. And you can see that has a little bend to it. That's the plastic one. Of course, the stainless steel is not going to be bendable whatsoever. So those are the advantages of a stainless steel guide rod. Again, stainless steel is heavier, it's rigid, it will make the gun shoot a little better because it doesn't have that snap because of the added weight, and it will consistently move because it doesn't flex at all. Consistently move the slide back and forth and keep the gun a little bit more on line than the factory plastic. Now again, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and install this into the slide, but first I want to take just a little bit of oil, and here's how I'm going to do this, okay? So I'm not going to drench this thing in oil. That's not really what we want to do because it gets dirty and it's just too much oil. I'm going to take a cotton patch, put some oil on it generously, and then I'm going to get this thing down here like that and just rub some oil on that guide rod. And that's about it. And it's going to work itself down. I can also do it on the bottom side. Just like that. And not a lot of oil, just a little bit. That's all you need. And that oil will work itself up and down as this cycles in the gun. Now to install this, it's the same exact way you would do the factory part. Basically just put it in there like so, and then compress the spring just a little bit, just to seat it in place. Oftentimes people will ask, well, there's 2 notches there. Which notch should it rest on? Well, it should rest on the notch that is, the lowest, should I say, or the closest one to the barrel. So if we look at that, the 1 notch basically is circular to capture the round edge of the guide rod. And that's how we want this guide rod to be resting down in that lower notch. So again, we just pop it in there like so. Put it in, and that's the stainless steel guide rod. And that's basically it. You take out the plastic, put in the stainless steel, and you're done. Now, oftentimes, once you get it in there, you can test it out. Oftentimes, people are interested in changing the spring weight out on the guide rods, and we sell them with different spring weights already installed. Why would you have a different spring weight? If you're shooting plus P loads or self-defense loads, oftentimes you can increase the weight of the spring. The Glock 19 is an 18-pound factory spring. If you were shooting plus P rounds, you could go ahead and increase that up to the next poundage, just to see how it works with your gun and with your particular loads. If you're a competition shooter or a reloader and your loads are not quite as hot as a factory load, you may want to reduce the weight of the spring. And that'll also help you tune the gun to your particular style of shooting. How's it feel when you shoot it? How does it cycle? Does it cycle fast enough? Does it cycle slower? It's based upon your trigger finger, the way you hold the gun, the ammo you're using, the weight of the bullet, the temperature and the humidity outside really will affect a lot of the functionality or the feel of the gun. And the spring weight can also come into play to help you dial the gun into your particular style of shooting. Last and probably a question that we get often is, how often should I change this spring, the recoil spring? Glock Factory recommends every 7,000 rounds. Be honest, we've had guns go through 100,000 rounds without changing the spring. So it's really your call. It's always nice to have another one of these in your bag, another guide rod spring assembly in your bag, just in case, because it's a low-cost part, and it's one of those things that if it breaks or fails, the gun will not work. That is the installation procedure for the stainless steel guide rod into my Glock 19.